Hello students, how are you? Hope you all are fine. So as I have told you in our previous class, we will start a new lesson today. So we were dealing with Unit 4 classification. We have already completed 4 lessons. So today we will start a new lesson that is the last lesson of this unit, that is 4.5, a new species. 4.5, a new species. Please open your textbook, science textbook, page number 52. Learning objective. How evidence can support scientific ideas or prove them wrong. So in this lesson, we will discuss about some evidences that support which all species lived on Earth. Are they all existing till today? What were the different types of species which lived in the past? And all those things. I hope you all have heard about the word fossils, right? What do we mean by fossils? The dead remains of plants as well as animals, right? So just like that, we will discuss some terms in this lesson. Skeletons from the past. Okay, so I think most of you have visited the science lab and you have seen the human skeletal system over there, right? So I hope you all know what do we mean by skeletons. Okay, we all belong to the same species, Homo sapiens. So as we were discussing about scientific names of plants and animals, which was in the naming system was invented by Carl Linnaeus. In our previous class, we have discussed about it. I told you that the animals as well as plants are named with two names. The first name and the second name will be there. Second name will denote the species name, right? So that time itself, I think I have told you that the scientific name of human beings is Homo sapiens. Okay, so here we all belong to the same species, Homo sapiens. For example, I belong to another country and you belong to some other countries. There are students from different countries, right, in our school. So every one of us are simply Homo sapiens, that is human beings. We are all belong to the same species. So people from any country can have children together and their children will be fertile. So as we were talking about species, one of the important feature of species is that the individuals of same species can reproduce and produce offspring which are fertile. Okay, offspring means what? Children. So same thing is discussed here. So people from different country can marry and can have children which are fertile. It's okay because all the people belong to the same species, that is Homo sapiens. But 30 to 35,000 years ago, see, it's a long time before, 35,000 years before, there were two species of human in Europe. Okay, so don't think that only one species of human beings is there. But before many years, 35,000 years ago, there were two different types of species of human beings in Europe. We know this because two sorts of fossilized human bones have been uncovered from this period. So we all know what do we mean by fossil? Fossil means what? Dead remains of animals or plants. So when we are getting a fossil from ground or somewhere, so what will you do? We'll just check. Fossil means it can be a bone, it can be any of the body parts, it can be anything, it can be even a footprint. Okay, so when we are getting a fossil, what we will do? We will just check it. We will try to date it. That means that fossil belong to which year, which area, which age, etc. And we will just examine its features and we will compare those features with the present day organisms. Okay, so nobody of us has seen about dinosaurs. Then how do we know more about dinosaurs? We have got many fossils of these dinosaurs, and because of that we understand more about them. So just like that, fossils are a very good method to study about animals and plants which lived in the past. Okay, so 35,000 years ago, we are sure that there were two different types of species of human in Europe. Then how did we know that? Because we got two different types of fossils from this period. Okay, so if we are getting two different types of fossils means what? We can we will be sure that two different types of species lived before 35,000 years ago. So here are the two different types of fossils which we got. In the screen you can see that the skull on the right is from one species. Okay, so here this right side you can see one skull. So this is for one species, and here this is another species. Okay, in the left side. It looks just like a modern skull. So on the right side, you can see it is just looking like a modern skull, which is our skull is also just like this. And so do the rest of its bones. So the other bones are also just like that of modern man. But the other has, on the left side, you can see it has shorter, stronger bone. The bones are shorter and the bones are stronger, and a bigger skull, the one on the left. See, the one on the left is having a bigger skull. See, comparatively, it is having a bigger skull. It is having stronger bones. Okay, so it is different from that of modern man. This was Homo neanderthalensis. So Homo means what? This is the first name and this is the second name. So the second name denotes species name. So we all belong to the species Homo sapiens. Okay, so here you can see another type of species of human, that is Homo neanderthalensis. Homo is same. Okay, so Homo is same means what? We all are very much similar, but they are not belonging to the same species as Homo sapiens. Their species is different. What is the species? Homo neanderthalensis. Okay, they are also known as Neanderthal man. Okay. So the one on the left, you can see different types of skull. That is how we understood that two different types of species live there. So two different skulls, two different fossils are available. You can see it on the screen. So one is exactly similar to that of modern man, just like our skull. But the other one is a little bit different. Its skull is big and its bones are stronger. Okay, so that we have named, the scientists have named those species as Homo neanderthalensis. They were commonly known as Neanderthal man. The species seemed to disappear 30,000 years ago, 5,000 years after Homo sapiens moved into Europe. So when Homo sapiens, that means our ancestors, okay, our ancestors moved to Europe, they just disappeared. Okay, so 30,000 years ago, the Neanderthal man or Homo neanderthalensis disappeared from Earth. So now they are not present on Earth. They have just extincted or they are just disappeared, just like dinosaurs. Okay, so now only one type of species is present in Earth, that is Homo sapiens. But before 35,000 years ago, there were two different types of species. One was simply Homo sapiens, that is modern day man. The other one was Homo neanderthalensis or Neanderthal man. So they were a little bit different from us. So here there are some basic differences between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. So study this, it's very important. So species, what are the two different types of species? One is Homo sapiens, the other one is Homo neanderthalensis. Okay, so skull size in centimeter cube. Okay, our skull size is measured in the unit centimeter cube. So what about Homo sapiens? Our skull size is up to 1500 centimeter cube. Okay, but Homo neanderthalensis, we have discussed it, right? When I showed you the fossil of Neanderthal man, what was that? Their skull were bigger, right? So up to 1700. In the case of Homo sapiens, it was only up to 1500, but Homo neanderthalensis, it is bigger and it is up to 1700. And what about average height? Homo sapiens are basically higher. Okay, they're having more height compared to Homo neanderthalensis. So average height in centimeter is 175 centimeter in the case of Homo sapiens. But in the case of Homo neanderthalensis, the average height is about 168 centimeters. So they were shorter than Homo sapiens. Okay. Next topic is about new bonds. Okay, so all these bonds are we got by digging the earth. Okay, from ground only. In 2003, bonds were found on an island near Australia called Flores. So what is the name of the island? Flores. It is near Australia. The mud they were buried in was 18,000 years old. So we got the fossil, or we call everything fossil. Okay, the bonds from where we got the mud was like 18,000 years old. Okay, so I think the bonds, not only everybody thinks what the bonds belong to those species which lived there before 18,000 years. Okay, they fitted a skeleton 100 centimeters tall. So what was the skeleton? What was the height? 100 centimeters tall, the height of a modern 6-year-old. So basically, at present, one 6-year-old boy or girl, anyone, they will have a height of approximately 100 centimeter tall. Okay, so they got a skeleton from ground. It was actually 18,000 years old. Her skull, her means what? That skeleton was actually the skeleton of a woman. Her skull measured only 400 centimeter cube. That means what? The skull is very small, right? Only 400 centimeter cube, like a newborn baby's. So you can imagine. Nowadays, the newborn baby's skull is very small, right? Just like that skull, and but her worn teeth showed she was 30 when she died. So that woman, they got from Flores, which is an island near Australia. Scientists got what? One fossil, that is some bones, one skeleton. That skeleton's height was 100 centimeter, and she was actually that was a woman's skeleton, and she was 30 years old when she died. But what was the condition of that skeleton? It was only 100 centimeter tall. 100 centimeter tall means nowadays 6-year-old boy or 6-year-old girl. Okay, and the skull was very small, 400 centimeter cube. So from that, what do you understand? So that those species were comparatively different from that of modern day woman. Okay, there were stone tools nearby and the bones of a miniature species of elephant. The bones had cut marks on them and looked burnt. Okay, so these things were there. There is still a tribe of small bodied people living on floor. So even today, there are a tribe of people. Some people are there, a group of people are there whose body is very small. They are still living in Flores, which is an island near Australia. They are a bit taller than the ancient skeleton and their skulls are much larger. Okay, the ancient skeleton, it was very small. It was only 100 centimeter tall. But nowadays, the people who are small bodied, still living on Flores, they are a bit higher than the ancient skeleton and their skulls are larger. Okay, because the skull which they got from, which was 18 years old, was actually only 400 centimeter cube. That means that was very small, right? So that means from this, basically what you have to understand is the bones and other fossils which we get from ground is easier, so that to understand about the species which lived in the past. Okay, there may be different types of species which lived in the past. They may be entirely different from us, the modern day man as well as woman. They may be entirely different. So some question and answers. Question number 1. Why do we think that human bones buried 35,000 years ago come from two different species of human? How or why? Answer. Human bones buried 35,000 years ago in Europe appear to come from two different species because one sort is like bones from modern humans and the other has shorter, stronger bones and a bigger skulls. You just have seen the picture of that, right? So the two different skulls were very different. So from that itself, we can understand that those skulls belong to two different species. Question number 2. Humans vary a lot. Give 2 pieces of evidence that show modern humans are all one species. Answer. Humans are all one species because any male or female couple can produce fertile offspring. We have discussed it, right? Any man from any country can marry any woman from any other country and they can have children who are fertile. Okay, so from that we can understand that we all belong to one species. Now, at present on Earth, only one type of species is present. One type of species of human beings is present. Third, question number 3. Why did scientists think they had found a child skeleton? Scientists thought they had found a child skeleton because it was only 1 meter tall. What made them change their minds? Answer. They changed their mind when they realized her teeth were worn down and her bones looked like an adult's. So that then they understood that fossil's age was actually, she was actually 30 years old when she died. Question number 5. What evidence is there that the bones belong to someone clever enough to hunt and cook? Why? Because we have seen some bones over there, right? The bones seem to come from people clever enough to hunt and cook because they were found with stone tools and the animal bones with cut marks on them. Question number 6. Look at the diagram. So three different types of women are there. What differences are there between the women found buried on floors and the small-bodied women that live on floors? You know that the skeleton found buried on floors had a smaller skull and smaller body. Okay.